An equation in which a variable appears in a radicand is called a radical equation. And here we have an example of a radical equation that they're asking us to solve. To do so, we'll use a new equation solving principle called the principle of squaring. And the principle of squaring states if a equals b, then a squared equals b squared. Although the principle of squaring can lead us to a solution of a radical equation, it may lead us to numbers that are not solutions. So checking solution becomes more important than ever. Let's take a look and solve this example. Our plan is to isolate the radical term on one side of the equation and then use the principle of squaring, as I mentioned a minute or so ago. To do so, I'll subtract 2 from each side, which will isolate this radical expression, and simplifying, we'll put a substituted value of 3 in place of 5 minus 2. Now we're ready to apply the principle of squaring, which says to square both sides. Anytime you square a radical, in other words, we'll have square root of the quantity 3x times 3x, we have a perfect square, which is that radicand of 3x. 3 squared on the right is 9. We have eliminated the radical, and the last thing to do is to divide both sides by 3 for a possible solution of 3. To be sure that this is in fact a solution, we will check that in the original equation, replacing the variable with the value that we got, which was a 3, and see if we do end up with a true expression. So square root of 3 times 3, square root of 9 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, and since this is true, we will accept this as a solution. Let's take a look at another example. Here we have a radical equation. To solve this, first we will isolate the radical. Doing so, subtract a 3 from each side, leaves the square root of 2x minus 5 equal to negative 3 when we simplify. Now, applying the principle of squaring, we'll square both sides, and when we square both sides, we end up with the radicand from this radical times itself, so a 2x minus 5, and negative 3 squared will result in a positive 9. Solving for the variable, we'll add 5 to both sides, leaving 2x on the left and a 14. Divide both sides by 2, results in x equal to 7. The principle of squaring is a procedure to solve a radical equation, but it's not a guarantee that we will always have a solution. So we need to be sure that we check our answer in the original problem. So here's the check. We'll replace the variable with the value that we found. In place of x, we'll put a 7. So we'll have 2 times 7 minus 5 as the radicand plus 3. And we're going to see if we do in fact get a true result. So simplifying under the radical sign, we'll multiply first. So we have 14. 14 minus 5 leaves a 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 plus 3 is not 0. And since we have a false solution, we're going to reject the 7 and state that we have no solution to this particular radical equation.